Good evening, Poe fans. Jeannie and I are back for discussions this evening. I am Carmen Bolden.
And I'm Jeannie Smith, and we
We
are
are the
the
Poe-tastic
Two.
2. We did good, Jeannie. When we're not in the same room, Vince, it kind of gets a little bit crazy with that.
Oh, yeah.
But our special guest tonight is Vince Wilson, and we're going to let him tell us a little bit about himself.
Well, there's a lot I could say, but we're going to stay focused, of course.
Love it.
So I'm on the board of directors of the Edgar Allan Poe House and Museum
Okay.
in Baltimore. All right. I'm also the owner and entertainment director for Poe's Magic Theater at the Lord Baltimore Hotel in downtown Baltimore. So, kind of an authority on as far as that's concerned, as far as it'll go on Edgar Allan Poe in Baltimore specifically. So
Okay.
but there's definitely people that have more knowledge of that than I do, but I'm pretty good at what I know. So I do
Okay.
also do ghost tours, and I perform magic of a spooky nature. A
That's
lot of it's focused around Edgar Allan Poe, of course. So,
love it. Love it. Well, I was going to say, so with we can kind of go into what you do with magic. How long has Post Magic Theater been alive and
well,
Operating.
operating? Yes,
we had a
thank you. I was
great.
looking for the right word.
Yeah, we opened up in 2019, and
Okay.
then the pandemic happened
Yes.
in
Yes.
2020. And by April 2020, we shut down and we opened up again in late 2021 at a different hotel. And now we're back into the elegant and charming Lord. I know it's a plain wall for you right now, but this is the Lord Baltimore Hotel I'm in right now, which is a
Okay.
luxury hotel in downtown Baltimore. It's beautiful. And we get the chance to perform there every single weekend in this theater when
Oh,
it'll be all decked out with decorations, we named it after Edgar Allan Poe, just like Baltimore named its football team after the Raven, for example.
yes. That's cool. Yeah, my husband and I were wanting to go to a show last time we were there for the Poe Fest this past year and just didn't get time to fit that in, but I think that would be really awesome to come and see.
Oh yeah,
So how
if you're in town, free tickets for both of you, of course.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Jeannie, I think you were going to ask a question.
I was just going to ask him about how often do you have shows and do they center just around magic? Because I also saw where you do storytelling and you're a mentalist, which I think is
That's correct.
fascinating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, the kind of magic I focus on is storytelling magic or theatrical magic. It requires a little extra effort to tell an engaging story while doing magic, but I do pretty good, I think. And mentalism means I use effects and facial readings and a little bit of hypnosis here and there, among other things, to give the illusion of mind reading, or psychic ability, for example.
Okay.
Hmm.
Oh, very
Yeah.
cool.
Do you get a lot of people asking for that type of thing? I know hypnosis is kind of one of those things that people either are okay with or not okay with. So how often do you find that you don't have a reactive crowd, I guess is what I'm saying.
Uh, that doesn't happen as much as you think. I kind of cater my show by design to emphasize certain aspects, and elements in order to negate that as much as possible. Of course, we do have every once in a while you have someone who's they just won't volunteer, but everyone likes to watch.
Yes.
So I'm also a clinical hypnotherapist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I not going up there not knowing what I'm doing, which is most hypnotists. So and I don't do like a hypnosis show. I have elements of pseudo hypnosis in my performance that gives more the impression of suggestion than it really is.
Right.
Secrets of
Okay.
magic revealed. You know.
Yes.
Uh,
Uh, Cool.
yeah.
That is cool. So, have you designed several different types of shows around Poe?
Oh yes, yeah. I've designed effects that other magicians have actually performed. I actually sell some of the performances I've done.
Okay.
I have a piece called "The Death of Edgar Allan Poe," in
Oh,
which you try to discover how Edgar Allan Poe died under mysterious circumstances. It has the four prominent theories in regards to his death, and at the end, the volunteer will decide once and for all how Edgar Allan Poe met his untimely demise.
Oh
Um,
gosh.
I also I also designed a piece called on Mass of the Red Death, which implies there was a an annotated works, lost works of Poe, in which he had a different versions of his stories. One of them, Mass of the Red Death, it recalls the deaths of modern researchers who were trying to put together a story behind it. And I bring three volunteers up on stage. They played parts of different characters from the story.
Okay.
It's and that's an effect I actually sell and market, but I perform it as well myself. Um,
Oh, cool. Okay.
so yeah, so there's just a couple of the Poe things. I have more than that, but those are the big ones. So
That sounds awesome. I think 1 year or maybe 2 years, and when my husband and I have been to every International Poe Fest, and we did the online version during the pandemic. But I think the first couple years you guys did a séance. I think like after the
yes,
Black Cat Ball. So tell us a little bit about that.
yeah, I do the Edgar Allan Poe seance. I do lectures on ghosts and paranormal as well. My
Okay.
magic tends to loan itself to the spooky side. Okay. And the so it's fun doing seances. I can do two types of seances. I do the theatrical seance, which is like something's definitely going to happen because I make it happen.
Yeah.
But it's marketed as theatrical. The other
Okay.
is skeptics call it a psychological seance, but it is also a real seance for all intents and purposes, as real as you can get, you know. Um, because people believe it's going to happen and stuff is going to happen, it does. That's for the skeptics, but if you believe in seances, then something is happening. And we have
Okay.
mhm.
contacted Edgar Allan Poe on multiple occasions. So
Okay.
yeah, yep. I think he's happy being a ghost, to be honest with you.
That's cool. That's very cool. I mean, it fits into the whole the horror part of his persona.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I'd say he's getting a lot done because his name and his works are pretty much alive and well, even more than whenever he was an actual alive and well.
yes.
So, and I guess the big question that I'm going to ask now, Vince, is how did you get interested in Edgar Allan Poe to begin with? To get all
Well,
this.
it helps being in Baltimore, where it's a
Mhm.
big deal around here. You know, I
Yeah.
was always I so I know you're looking at me on this video call right now and saying, well, he must be like what, 27 years old. Uh,
I'm
but but I am
young.
actually 50 years old this month.
Oh, happy
And
birthday.
thank you very much. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago. And and it was back in I grew up in the 70s and 80s. And back then there was all these paranormal shows on TV, good ones, not like the stuff that's on now. Ugh.
Yeah.
But and I can say that because I've actually been on a couple of those.
Oh,
But
Oh, wow. Oh, you'll have to tell
yeah,
us
but
about that. Yeah.
yeah. I will. Yeah, we can get to that. I grew up in this time period where everything was about unsolved mysteries, and there
Mhm.
was In Search of, and with Leonard Nimoy and Ripley's Believe It or Not, for example, things along those lines. But I also grew up in a time of magic, Blackstone, uh, and David Copperfield and Doug Henning and that sort of
Mhm.
thing. They've all contributed to my ideas of mystery and a bigger universe full of wonder. And I think that's what really influenced me. And of course, then later on, middle school and high school, you learn about Edgar Allan Poe, and that he's buried
Mhm.
here in Baltimore. Sorry, Philadelphia, we have the body. You know,
Oh, well,
um,
you guys have a one of the only houses. I mean, yeah, there's what, 3 houses left. You have the house
Richmond,
and you got the body. So,
yeah, yeah, Richmond, Philadelphia, and Baltimore. There's also a little thing in New York,
yes,
mhm.
I've been there to
as
the
well.
cottage.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but yeah, the so we have all that, and it's and I used to do ghost tours at Poe's gravesite. We're actually going to bring those back this year. We're hoping.
Oh, cool.
And yeah,
Cool.
and the we're really excited about, it's the 75th anniversary of the Poe House in Baltimore,
Yes.
being a museum. So we're really excited about that as well. There's a lot of anniversaries and things coming out. North Baltimore is having their 95th anniversary this year
I
as well.
saw that. I
Yeah.
get I get emails from them now since we've stayed there a couple times. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yep. Yeah. So there's a big year for Poe and Baltimore and that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of what inspired me to get into Edgar Allan Poe was I was always into spooky things. I kind of enjoy that Victorian aesthetic as well. As you can see, this is actually how I dress all the time.
Oh,
Vest
very
and
neat.
tie and
Okay.
black cap and that sort of thing. So I don't just like it, I live it. Um and I like that aesthetic and that sort of thing. And Poe was a brilliant writer, a detective,
Hmm.
storyteller as well. People might not know this, but he was also the creator of the modern detective story. I know you two know
Yes.
that,
Yes.
but
Well, and
a
we
lot of
we
people don't.
always like to kind of bring those things up multiple times here and there to remind people of all the diversity of what he wrote. So no, it's
Yeah.
you can never say it enough.
Hmm. So he was like the father of the modern detective story, the father of modern horror, gothic horror in particular. More
Hmm.
maybe uh more like the Godfather, because you could make an argument for Byron and Shelley, of course, and that sort of thing,
Yeah.
predating Poe technically, but he definitely contributed to it. Um, and I just love and also love the mystery of how he died and the
Yeah.
story of the Poe toaster, the legendary Poe
Yes.
toaster visits Poe's gravesite, so
Yeah, I when first heard about the Poe toaster, it was fascinating to find out, as much information as you could about him. And I must, we've talked about this before that I think what only maybe of just a very small number of people know who the Poe toaster actually is.
mhm.
Yeah,
Yep,
it's one of the
well, and
favorite
probably we're never going to know that because according to some sources, the original Poe toaster died in 1998, I think it was,
Okay.
and
Okay.
the torch was passed to somebody else in 1990, as early as 1993.
Okay.
Um, and the person who replaced the original one was not as good as the first one. He
Okay.
actually left a letter in 2001 saying he was hoping the Giants would win the Super Bowl, which didn't make any sense because we named our football team after the Raven. So
Right.
it's a lot of in the bodies in Baltimore. So you're angering the home city of the Baltimore of the I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh, After that, he
That is
became a
odd.
little unpopular. Yeah, it was very that was a choice. That was definitely a choice to do. And
Yeah.
after he retired, permanently retired, and now an actor does it. But the actor's identity is a secret to only a few people now.
Okay, okay.
So
And I think that's really neat to kinda keep that mystery behind, who he really is, just to make it even, just I don't know, basically more special with, the whole aspect of it.
well, it
yep.
fits very well with Poe and
Yeah.
the mystery behind Poe himself, you know,
Mhm.
everything not just for his death but his life, because even though we've got many different things that we have researched between journals and newspapers and magazines that give us some idea of what he went through. It's still, kind of a big mystery. And some of it is not very kindly shared because Griswold, when he posted his stories,
Yeah.
he was his arch enemy, as kind of like the whole Moriarty and Sherlock Holmes thing continued.
Mhm.
But
Hmm.
it's it's very interesting that Poe did keep living even after, and the gothic and the horror and all that, and that people are still that interested in it.
Yeah.
So, that's great that you and other actors and other magicians and people are still, doing that and keeping it alive. And I think that's a
Yes.
great thing. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's really, really awesome. Well, you had said that you have been on some of the, I guess, more modern type of mystery shows. So yeah, tell us definitely about that because Jeannie and I both grew up in the same, era that you did, and so watching, especially like Leonard Nimoy on In Search of, and all of those awesome, awesome shows. So tell us about what you've been in. This is really cool.
Yeah, the I was on Destination America, Discovery Channel, National Geographic, PBS at one point, and the Travel Channel twice. You
Oh,
know,
cool.
so yeah, so there's the most popular show I probably was on was the Holzer Files in regards to the USS Constellation, and that was season one, and that was on that show. As far as the other ones are concerned. They were like one-off shows, like everything you want to know about the paranormal and that
Okay.
sort of thing. And National Geographic was a show called Is It Real? It was a show on that one.
Hmm.
And there was a couple other ones here and there, but those were the big ones. And I only wanted to ever do talking head segments. I never wanted to do a regular series because I think inevitably they're going to ask you to fake things. Uh,
Okay.
because there's no way that everything is real on these shows.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
uh, so they would bring me on to tell stories about haunted locations because I'm also a collector of ghost stories.
Okay.
I was really into the paranormal for years, and I got kind of a little disillusioned with it to some degree.
Hmm.
Because it became a bunch of people like trying to figure out how they were going to get on TV, or have their own TV series based on ghost hunting. Um, and I more collect ghost stories now. I even became a certified parapsychologist at one point for what that's worth.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah.
Okay. That sounds interesting. Well, you said that you do ghost tours of, is it just Lord Baltimore Hotel, or do you do like some of the area around Baltimore too?
I design ghost tours as well for other places. So if you're
Okay.
interested in me designing a ghost tour, please reach out to me. My rates are reasonable.
Okay.
But I designed the ones for the Lord Baltimore, and I also did the original Poe Grave Ghost Tour,
Okay.
which we're hoping to bring back this year. I did tours at the Wayside Inn in Virginia, which was
Okay.
is a haunted bed and breakfast out there. Beautiful place, by the way,
Yeah.
and
What part of
notoriously haunted.
Virginia is it in?
That's in that's in Middletown, which I'm sure you've never heard about, but it's just south of Winchester
Okay. I feel
or
like I've
West.
almost heard of Middletown, but not Winchester. I don't know. Jeannie, what about you? Does that sound familiar?
It's
I've
it,
heard. I don't think I've ever been there
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Middlesbrough, Kentucky, but not Middletown, Virginia.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's it's 30 miles. It's about 30 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes south of Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. So it's way up
Yeah,
Okay.
in North Virginia. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
yeah.
I've been through it because I've been
Okay.
to Harper's Ferry a few times in the area. So I remember driving through something like that, but I never, it's not one of those that you visit
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
or that I visited anyway.
Okay.
Because Civil War, some friends and I, we like to go visit the Civil War areas like Antietam and Gettysburg and Harper's Ferry, and that's why
Hmm.
we were in that area. So,
Yeah.
but I
So,
have visited it. So,
so
Yep. Oh yeah.
is,
I've definitely been in Gettysburg more times than I can count.
oh, wow.
mhm,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
that
So,
would definitely be a ghost story right there.
yeah. Oh, I can only imagine. So the way you
Well,
said
I'll
the
say something
way,
controversial is that I think Gettysburg might be haunted, but I don't think it's the most haunted city in America either. I think a lot of its reputation comes from it being within walking distance of the battlefields and souvenir shops more than
Right.
anything else. You know, you get
I
your
agree.
Got Ghost T-shirt and coffee mug.
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree with you there.
Well, do you have like a city that you think is the most haunted?
I would say I think Baltimore's pretty haunted, but I think New Orleans is really up there too.
Yeah.
You know, Savannah, Georgia too is another one I've been to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to Waverly Hills Sanatorium, Eastern State Penitentiary, the Brookdale Lodge,
Mhm.
among other famously haunted places. So,
Yeah, I've done a ghost tour in New Orleans. In I'm trying to think when in Savannah, we actually did do a ghost tour. We also did um, the Garden of Good and Evil, the book. I can't remember the author's name, but it was the movie Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. We did a tour of that, but we also added on a ghost tour in Savannah, and it seemed that and New Orleans both, I think both seem very haunted based on the stories. And what I really like about ghost tours is the history that you get out
Right.
of it as well.
Especially if you
I
get a
agree.
tour guide, as someone,
Yes.
kind of like what you do, Vince, as a storyteller and doing
Yeah.
a tour guide at the same time, because you can make it more and build that suspense and tell more about kind of the truth behind it, rather than,
Mhm.
oh, you're going to see maybe an apparition of somebody. No, no, this is what happened. And then, and you kind of build that into their minds, kind of like what Poe did with his stories. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
no. So I assume that
Yeah,
with being a storyteller in your tour groups and stuff like that, that's kind of what you do, correctly?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The history of ghost stories is very interesting. The first recorded ghost story goes back 5,000 years to the
Wow.
Epic of Gilgamesh, and
Mhm.
where Gilgamesh the warrior travels into the underworld to rescue his friend Akindu. The first haunted house rattling chains ghost story you can go back to, uh, you know, uh, goes back to about 2,000 years ago with Pliny the Younger telling the story of his friend Athenodorus, who was renting a house in Athens, Greece,
Mhm.
and encountered a ghost that beckoned him to follow him into the hallway 3 nights. And on the third night, he actually got up enough courage to follow him out and watch him descend into a tree, the roots of a tree, where later that next morning they discovered a grave there, improperly, he was improperly buried and wrapped in chains, that sort of thing. When they
Wow.
reburied him, the ghost haunted no more.
Oh,
How
interesting.
ghosts, yeah, how ghosts appear have changed over the years. When Athenodorus saw that ghost, he knew it was a ghost, but it was also not see-through or misty. It was solid, ghostly
Hmm.
pallor, but solid like we are. Um, it wasn't until the 19th century they really became misty and translucent and flying and that sort of thing. And
Okay.
that probably came from the technology changing at the time, where you had phantasmagoria shows in which
Yes.
projected images would appear on walls that appear to move and fly about. So, if assuming ghosts are real, they are definitely also influenced on how they appear is influenced on how we think they're supposed to look.
Okay. Yeah.
So their manifestation may be an aspect of both us and them.
That's
Yeah.
interesting to think about. Yeah.
Well, and also with the addition of the camera, the
Yeah.
exposure and everything, because like mid 1800s, when it started getting popular, and people would take pictures of their dead relatives, they would
Yeah.
prop up, take them pictures. But also, and I can't remember the name of the person that did this, but they would take pictures of exposures and say, they would say that the ghost of whomever had died before them were showing up on the, I don't think they called them negatives. I can't remember what they used to call them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, well, prints and negatives and yeah, that sort of thing. But yeah, yep.
so,
And there was the cabinet cards of the late 19th century, daguerreotypes and
yes.
tintype card photographs. But
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. So, yeah. And I mean, and Gilgamesh, you brought that up. That's so funny, because that's what I used to teach when I taught high school English.
mm,
We would teach, the Gilgamesh and all that wonderful, and, not from that point of view, but just from the literature standpoint, about being, some of the earliest written stories
Yeah.
that came about. So, but it's amazing to keep that alive. And I think that's kind of an oxymoron to talking about ghost tours and keeping them alive.
Yes.
Funny. But yeah, you're
Well,
right. Go ahead.
it it is. So what do you have planned? Any kind of major? I know you just said that you were having auditions for the new. Is it a new show or just
Oh,
starting
it's for we need more magicians. We always want the latest and best talent. We're opening up Poe's Magic Club, which will
Oh,
actually train new magicians and help them with their careers and how to expand their reach and get to know people. We
okay.
are, after that, we have our annual conference coming up in March,
Okay.
which is an internationally recognized magic conference. We have, we're adding some improv comedy shows on Thursday nights here,
Oh,
and
fun.
we're going to, yep, it's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, for Poe related stuff, we have the Edgar Allan Poe Festival, which I'm sure you two will be at, right?
Yes.
In
Yes. Oh,
October. It's the
yes. Haven't
75th
missed one.
anniversary. It's gonna be a huge, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun, the last one.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was. And I love how it was expanded. Like it was a lot bigger. Like every single year it's grown more and more,
Yeah.
which is just so exciting that it is like it's there's that many people that want to attend, want to be vendors and performers and things like that. It's very exciting. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. Come dressed as your favorite Poe character or Gothic Victorian style or just wear
Yes,
your Hot Topic t-shirt.
exactly.
There's something for everyone here. It's literary fans and that sort of thing. The vendor tables are amazing. All the stuff they have there, not just spooky stuff, but great works of art.
Yes.
Souvenir collectibles, things that you can't get anywhere else.
Hmm.
This past year, we had the Ghostbusters there. That was pretty cool.
That
Uh,
was that I
yeah,
thought that was really cool.
two kinds of ectomobiles. I was like, the first one I was like, oh, that's the one from the 2016 movie. I'm like, all right. But then the next day they had, and then they had the next day they had the actual ectomobile from the 1984 movie. I was like, all right, that makes up for it. This
That
is
that that
fantastic,
that that
and
makes it legit.
and they were legitimately nice guys.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I will say that about just the Poe community in general. Everybody is so nice and everybody wants Poe to, live forever and just just sharing all of the stories of, how found Poe or, embrace Poe or whatever. And it's really great. It really is.
I agree. And there's so many wonderful stories around Edgar Allan Poe. So many misunderstandings too. Like for example, like a lot of people, there's like rumors that he was a drug addict, that he was insane, and
Yeah,
that sort of thing. But truth be told, he wasn't either one of those things. People who hung around with him said they never saw him do any kind of drugs ever.
right.
You know, and that he wasn't crazy. He was actually said to be the life of the party and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
He was morose sometimes. He was depressed, like anybody gets, depressed sometimes.
yeah,
And he wasn't a drunk, really. He's definitely lost work for drinking. But this is
right.
also a time period in history where everyone drank and everyone got drunk.
Mhm.
So it's kind of hard to gauge that. Um,
Yeah,
and so it's we um we kind of look at the past filtered through the lens of today's expectations. And sometimes that's fair, but in Poe, I think it isn't,
yeah,
you know. So at least more often than not, anyway. The
yeah.
a lot of these rumors, of course, were spread by his literary enemy, Rufus Griswold,
Mhm.
notorious historical bastard.
Yes.
So, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I know, and, it's like if those people like Rufus did not slander and libel Poe's name, you know, I think the his persona or his reputation would have been vastly different than if they had, just left well enough alone.
Yes. Yeah, the
Oh,
River Rufus was definitely petty, to say the least. I'm sorry, Janie.
no, that's okay. I was just going to say that, kind of like what you were saying, this this kind of made up of how horrible or melancholy or maybe a drunk or, that kind of thing that people, those types of rumors have given some kind of legs to his history so they could build that shadow of doubt about who he was and all that, to try to help build it up. And, Griswold uh, probably made up some of its stuff too, because, anybody in any kind of war with each other in literary wars, hey, let's call him a drunk. Let's say he's, abusing drugs, that kind of thing. But what I think is very unusual, and this may be a little bit off topic, but I was thinking how, you see these literaries now about how they've created the story of Abraham Lincoln, the vampire hunter, and then you
Yeah.
see all these other. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm waiting for someone to write something about Edgar Allan Poe, the ghost hunter, or Edgar Allan Poe, the demon slayer or something like that. I mean, why not him? He was in the
Well,
era, and
they did have a comic book where Edgar Allan Poe punched Hitler.
oh
So
yeah, that's true. So that was good. And I can see him
Oh,
doing. Uh, but and also during the time period around, right about 10 years before he died, the whole Enlightenment period and temperance was just starting. So that might have had some kind of connotation to, calling him a drunkard and taking like one drink. So,
yeah,
who knows?
that's true.
Uh,
he was actually a member of the temperance movement the last couple of years of his life, and
Mm-hmm.
he had according to some people, he had a severe um,
allergy.
intolerance to
Yeah.
alcohol and liquor and that sort of thing. So that it definitely, he definitely got drunker faster. you know.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. And I
And
think
there's
that's, yeah, go
yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say that in my personal opinion, I think he drank mostly when he got jobs, and
Mhm.
so maybe he
Hmm.
was like anti. He was really against working for other people. I think that's what motivated him to be a freelance writer, because
Yes.
it seems like he was his um, uh, proclivity for alcoholism would really start when he was employed by somebody else. You
Yes.
know,
Yeah, and his dream was to own his own magazine, and so that's
stylist.
it totally ties together, definitely.
Yep,
Now you
Well,
say
absolutely.
you teach other magicians kind of the craft or how to better their craft or whatever. About how long does that usually take? I mean, what do you have a set time frame for your classes, or
And
is it
that's based on their individual talent and availability. So
oh
okay.
you have to, every magician has to be mentored at a different rate. I mean, it'd be nice I could just,
yeah.
kung fu class and have a magic temple and everyone just comes up in robes and every
That
day we're just like, three of a kind, three, or something like that. But it's but unfortunately it's usually a lot of one-on-ones and that sort of thing. We do want to have regular workshops and classes, but once again, that's based on availability. You
Okay.
know,
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just happy to find out that magic is still alive and well. It may not be as prominent
Yeah.
because, you know, Houdini was, I still love the idea of how Houdini and the rest of that in the early years of the 1900s, and then David Copperfield was one of my favorite magicians. When you brought him up, I was like, "Oh yeah." I still remember, didn't he make an elephant disappear?
yes, and the Statue of Liberty.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
because I was like, I remember watching an episode or something on TV. Didn't he? I think he even used to have his own TV show, didn't he? Maybe, or was it just like
Uh,
He
I
would
think it
have
was
TV
just
specials. Yeah.
specials. Yeah.
special
Yeah.
TV? Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
and like you were saying earlier, kind of the things now, like the ghost hunting, so nowadays, and the magicians and nowadays kind of don't have the same nostalgia, I guess I would, of the original, of what truly magic or ghost hunting. Because now I try to watch those ghost hunters,
Hmm.
they're paranormal, whatever you want to call them, and I'm just sitting there going, oh look, the window's open, the breeze is blowing. Yeah, too much.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah. Some of them are nice people, or nice enough anyway. But a lot of stuff is fake for television, and I do
Yeah.
think most people are rational enough to know that. They just watch it for the entertainment value,
Yeah.
yeah,
of the drama, and it's just like watching pro wrestling. You know it's fake most of the time, but you also know sometimes someone actually
Yeah.
gets hurt.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So you watch, and you also watch it for the story element, that sort of thing, the drama. Um,
Yes. Yeah, I
yeah,
agree.
yeah.
So, is there, have you ever had a really, really spooky ghost experience?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
what's
at the
your, like, the
Waverly Hills
spookiest,
Sanatorium,
where at?
the Waverly Hills Sanatorium, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, that was weird. There was five of us, I think, and we were at the on the third floor around 2 o'clock in the morning, and a shadowy figure walked directly toward us.
Ooh.
Now, yeah, it was we were doing this experiment with a laser pointer. Someone tipped us off on, and we were aiming it at the far end of one of the hallways, and these are about 100 feet long. You know,
Okay.
I was about to stop the experiment when someone said, "Do you see that?" And we noticed that the laser dot had multiplied. Like there was like one dot on the wall, then there was like another dot and another dot, and we
Okay.
realized it was going through something we couldn't see, and whatever that
Ooh.
was getting closer to us. You know,
Ooh.
yeah. But and we were told explicitly, do whatever you do, do not use any light, no infrared, no visible light, nothing. It's just you're just going to have this experience. Try to record if you can, but we didn't have low light cameras at the time.
Okay.
And the problem with infrared cameras is that most people don't know this. It actually emits infrared, so we were told not to do anything that emits anything, except for the
Okay.
laser pointer. That was the one exception. All right, and this person told me that because he investigated so much, he knew this would happen. All right. So we're the figure was walking toward us. Someone said, "Do you see heads and shoulders?" And and then we thought we saw heads and shoulders, and a shadowy figure. And then about 12 feet away, I said, "Someone turn a flashlight on," and then it was gone. Every once in a while, someone will
Wow.
ask me, "Why'd you turn the flashlight on?" I said, "Well, you go there and not turn the flashlight on." Yeah. I wasn't gonna be the first person to figure out what happened when if they got that close. I didn't want to. I was the one holding the laser pointer. You
Oh
know,
oh,
gosh. So they
yeah,
might have
it
been
was
coming
intense.
after you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my
So probably
goodness.
harmless, but you never know, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, have you had any spooky types of things happen at the Lord Baltimore Hotel?
Electrical disturbances. The elevator would come up by itself sometimes on ghost tours.
Okay.
We've had doors open and close sometimes, and we've heard noises. When we knew we were basically alone on that floor.
Mhm.
Things along those lines. So yeah,
Okay.
nothing like an apparition, but definitely spooky things.
Okay. Yeah.
hmm,
That's interesting. I sometimes will, like, especially if my husband and I stay in a historic hotel or a very old hotel that supposedly does have some type of ghost stories attached to it. I will sometimes wait until after we've stayed there to read about it. Otherwise, I might like psych myself out and be too scared to fall asleep. That's just, I don't know. That's just one thing I do. And then occasionally I will go ahead and read about it because I'm curious. And then, I just try not to think about it if it's too spooky. So,
I get it.
so
Yeah,
then, yeah, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go
I was
ahead.
gonna
Go
say
ahead.
there's the USS Constellation's another haunted place in Baltimore. It's really neat. There's been
Okay.
lots of stories of hauntings there, and the Poe House is supposed to. Some people have said they experienced things there. Most of the people who worked there said they've never had anything happen. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So is it just guests that have gone into the house that have experienced things?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. I did a with the Discovery Channel spot I did back in 2005
Hmm.
was at the Poe House.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that available where we could go and watch
Oh
it?
yeah, YouTube has it.
Okay,
I'm a
perfect.
lot thinner and no beard back then, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeannie will have to check that out because that would be really interesting to go back and watch.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anything that has any doubt, any ties to historical or ghost. I mean, I love it. I've been to Charleston. You talked about Savannah being, some of the high ghost areas. Charleston, I think,
Hmm.
right there next to it because we went on first time I went to Charleston, the Citadel. Didn't stay there, but I met someone that did, and they talk about how it is like very haunted.
Okay.
Especially one particular room, and then because of the those the Hunley, yeah, the first submarine, during the Civil War was in
Oh,
Charleston.
yes.
Yeah, and then they say that they haunt that area where it was went down. So I mean, this just the history, I guess. It's not so much whether I want to see a ghost or not. I'm like I said earlier with you, Vince, it's the story behind what I'm
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
at that.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well,
Um,
Vince, or go ahead, Jeannie. If I was going to say, I'm sorry if you weren't
thank
finished.
you for, thank you for joining us. And, I'm gonna have to go check out some of your stuff on Discovery Channel because I want to see
Yeah.
it.
Well, and
Yeah.
one question we always ask all of our people that come on that we interview is what is your favorite Poe story or poem?
Oh, okay. That's hard. I mean, that's a hard one. I like so probably. Oh my goodness. I would say the one I can the facts in the case of Monsieur Voldemir.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And with the
Yes.
mesmerism, with I was going to say with
The
your
paranormal.
interests.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
and magic and mesmerism, and yeah, that's I kind of, it kind of reminds me of kind of like a mentalism kind of thing, or
Mhm.
mentalist thing. Yeah. Yeah,
Well, cool.
that's a really good one.
Absolutely.
So, and I think the Poe House unfortunately had to cancel their Poe birthday celebration, which I
Yeah.
hated because of the weather. Are
It was bad though.
Yeah, it
It's a
looked like it
that
from the pictures.
yeah. It was technically canceled by the our host venue.
Oh
Uh,
gosh. Okay.
Yes, yeah. So so the which is fine. They did the right thing.
Yeah.
I'm not laying the blame on them. I'm just saying it's like they made the right decision. It would have
Yeah.
been bad for people to try to drive in there. It was the visibility was bad. I was already here, and I could tell you
Okay.
it was not good.
Oh,
Yeah. So I got stuck in Baltimore overnight, which is fine because it's my hometown.
yeah.
But yeah, the but I was stuck. I literally could not drive home because of how bad it was.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so yeah, you would have been taking a risk to some degree, or at least not had a good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would have yeah the graveyard, which part of the event took place in, was covered in ice and snow and
Wow.
slush. It was a slushy mix too. So, but yeah,
Okay.
there was yeah, the UMBC made the right decision to
Yeah.
close down for the night, and I think we offered some incentives
Mhm.
to for everyone. It's like you can get a refund or you can get a bunch of free, like 60. I think it was like they didn't want to I'm gonna say this, I might get in trouble for it. They didn't want they didn't want to tell you what the value was of the like the replace like if you the severance package they gave you basically for not for the cancellation
Yeah.
was technically had more monetary value than the ticket. The
Okay. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the tickets were like $34, but we were giving like 50 or $60 worth of stuff away. So,
Oh, wow.
um,
That
yeah,
that was very generous. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I hated that that happened, but I think for Valentine's there's like is it called like Galentine? We advertise it in
yes,
our
yep,
newsletter.
it's
So,
right. It's like, yeah, if you're not a big fan of Valentine's Day, this is the anti-Valentine's Day.
yes.
And I think and I've had some conflicted answers from people like, why would you want to do something like that? I was like, it's just for fun. Don't think
Yeah.
about it too much. Don't get upset. We love Valentine's Day. It's romantic and everything like that.
Yeah.
But this is the Poe house. It's all about gothic stuff and that sort of thing.
That's
It's
right.
got like a goth. It's got a kind of goth emo vibe to some degree. So don't just roll with it, guys.
Yeah.
Come to the Galentine event. Have a great time. There's gonna be vendors, gonna be magic. There's gonna be all sorts of entertainment, and don't just it's fine.
Yeah. So I wanted to definitely make sure that our listeners and our viewers know about that. If you're in the Baltimore area, definitely check that out. And I think is it on I think is it February
The
13th?
13th,
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Tuesday the 13th.
Yes.
That's right. So yes, it's the
Oh,
day before Valentine's Day. So
yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, go check that out and support the Poe House. So
yeah.
well, Vince, thank you so much for joining us this evening. This has been a pleasure getting to talk to you.
Likewise. Likewise. I had a great time. Thank you so much.
Yes, and we, will definitely stay in touch and keep us posted on, any of the new shows and when the Poe Cemetery ghost tours, start again, and so we
Well,
can let our viewers and listeners know.
Well, you can follow me if you want to know more about what I'm doing at Pose Magic, POESMAGIC.com and
Okay,
VinceWilsonMagic.com and follow me on all the social media at Pose
perfect.
Magic or at Vince Wilson Magi. All
Okay.
right.
And we'll
Yeah.
share all those links with everybody in our
Thank
our
you. Yeah.
credits. So yeah,
Yeah. My
absolutely.
next, yes, I'm doing the dangerous and dreaded bullet catch routine
Oh,
Ah,
wow.
where I'm actually going to catch a munition in my mouth.
Ooh,
oh, I haven't seen
cool.
that since
Yeah.
I watched the movie Last Dragon many years ago.
Okay.
That
Okay.
was that
Yeah.
was one of the last things in that movie, and it was a cheesy movie, but it was pretty good. It
Yeah.
was kind of like a knockoff of Bruce Lee. So, but
Okay.
all right, so we definitely hit all the social medias and keep an eye out on everything you plan on doing, and we look
Yes.
forward to seeing and hearing more about it.
Thank you so much. You have a great night.
All right. You too. Thanks so much, Vince.
Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.